He took care of me last year. I'm so grateful. I wish we had more time. If it's true that no man is a failure who has friends, then Greg Bartik was very successful indeed. He got under the skin of everyone in the room. No one left a mark. Losing him continues to as well.
Yay, thank you. To a very nice lady and Jimmy Hoffa. Goodness, lovely. Okay, before I bring up our next person who's sharing a story, I just want to remind you that, what did I want to remind? Oh right, there's private video recording happening in the green room upstairs. If you're not sure where that is, it's the door on that side closest to the exit. So if you have a story but you don't feel comfortable sharing it with all of these people, then share it just with one person in a video camera. Much more intimate. If you haven't picked up your copy of Asshole Therapy / the Thesaurus Barticus, highly recommended. A whole bunch of people put together some of Greg's, exactly, thanks for holding it up back there, put together a lot of his most bizarre sayings, some of his poems, etc. It is a joy to flip through, so please take one of those home for your household. And if you haven't, there's also an anti-memorial card over at that table. And while you're there, you can add your story of how you met Bartik to the timeline of the nurse that's right over there. And of course, if you haven't, please sign the guest list as well. We were hoping that we can make this maybe the start of an annual gathering of nurse friends, etc. So, if you would like to stay connected, please do. But for now, let's keep hearing about our wonderful, ridiculous friend with a story from Daniele, otherwise known as the Dago, or the Roman, or Greaseball, etc.
Hi, I'm the Dago, or the Greaseball. If Greg were to introduce me today, he would say, he's a Roman philosopher, which sounds fantastical, but it's actually extremely accurate. I met the nurse circa 2005. It was one of the first times I came to the US at the butcher's home and Numb Nipple's place for Meat Fest, and I didn't like him. He was in my face for a good 30 minutes, followed by this tall, chain-smoking, mostly silent guy with long, dark, greasy hair, the nephew who's here today. He kept on machine gunning questions at me, and when I remained silent, he would turn to the nephew and they would both laugh. And that hollow, heavy breathing laughter of his, I was uncomfortable. I could not understand a single thing he said, and while at the time I blamed it on my poor English, it really was his fault. And on top of that, he kept on referring to my girlfriend as the dirty whore. However unpleasant that was, he managed to convince me to go with him a few days later because he had a job for me, as he put it. So he comes to our apartment in Humboldt Park in one of his cop cars. He's dressed in actual trousers and wearing shoes, with a button shirt and a suit jacket. He urges me out of the house and into the car and speeds away to a hardware store on Ashland Avenue, just south of North Avenue. He doesn't say a word. Only when we get to the hardware store, he tells me, "Get out." We enter the place and he charges through the aisles and finally gets to one of the attendants and says, "I need gloves and zip ties." He whispers to the attendant that he has to pay cash, and he looks around to see if anyone else can hear him. Then he pockets the gloves and the zip ties and walks out of the place. At this point, I'm growing suspicious, and while I follow him back to the car, I start sizing him. About 200, 220 pounds. Not much muscle tissue. Nothing bulging under his coat that would indicate a weapon, but clearly unpredictable. I could take him on a standing fight, but he would have the advantage if we tussle on the ground. And sitting in the car seemed safe. His hands were busy on the steering wheel. He urges me, let's go. And when I'm in the passenger seat, I ask him what the zip ties are for. He answered, I told you, I have a job for you. We got on 290 and head to some place in the suburbs, stop the car by a modest house, and the nurse tells me to get out. We circle back to the trunk, and he gets me to help him carry what looks like a rolled carpet with a bulging center. I ask him, what's in it? And he turns to me, and with the straightest face, he says, a child. I told you I have a job for you. I was not sure I should take him seriously, but at that point, we are just a few steps from the basement door of the house, and the nurse knocks. A sliding peephole opens, and the nurse just nods, and they let us in. An old, frail man with wrinkles for a face leads us down the basement where a bunch of sewing machines and other industrial-grade apparatuses are stored. We put down the rolled carpet, and the nurse says to the man, this is the grease ball. There are steps behind us, and as I turn, the nicest Polish grandma smiles at us and says, Greg, I didn't know you were coming. I'll go get some coffee and cake. The atmosphere of the situation completely changes. The carpet is unraveled and there is no child. Greg makes fun of me for falling for it. The role is cowhide for the old man, who used to be a union leader in the cobbler union, and when the factory closed and the people were fired, he sacked the factory floor and kept the machines. The Polish lady comes back with coffee and cake. She tends to us like we're family. Greg prompts the old man to tell us how he got to the US, and it's the most heartwarming working class account of World War II. The man, Polish himself, if I recall correctly, was forced to serve in the Russian army at the outset of World War II. He was captured by the Nazi, who gave him a choice, either enlist in our army or face imprisonment. And the man enlisted only to be captured by the Americans, who gave him a choice, enlist in our army or face imprisonment. Out of habit, I guess, the old man decided to enlist once more and continue fighting World War II. At the end of the war, he makes his way to the US, finds the Polish woman, joins the cobbler union, and ends up in his basement. Today was an exemplary nurse day, starting in terror and ending in love and beauty. Worship. But that day ended up in love and beauty. The beauty of the cobbler and the nice Polish lady in the dismayed Chicago suburbs, and the love that Greg showed me as he took the time to bring me to people that had a story. That had a story in a place that I could relate to. It was a terrorizing way to let me know that he accepted me